Right. I think I've got all the story. And we'll just have to bluff my way through everything. Are we live yet? And
Yes,
have I
we are.
revealed
So everyone heard you.
the fact I'm going to bluff my way through? Excellent. I think people know by now.
I'm going to open my can of Fanta sugar free.
Better than opening a can of worms. All right then.
People on Discord got the full benefit of that.
Such a pain. So basically, I was everything was kind of okay, and then I looked at but then my whole PC just went incredibly sluggish, and it turned out that Edge decided it had 256 processes running, or something like that, which explained why my computer was running like sludge in treacle.
Well, that's the beauty of being based on the Chromium engine, I guess.
Yeah. Right, shall we? So, if you are listening on Discord right now, we have got a poll up right at this moment in general chat. So, if you haven't yet taken part, we would quite like your feedback. I don't know if I can move it.
I'm hearing quite a bit of echo on Tim's voice, by the way. Are you guys?
Say
No.
something?
I can hear a bit of echo as well, Darian.
It's okay for me.
How strange.
I can't put on echo cancellation unless I come out, basically.
Oh, it's when I speak, actually. I'm hearing my voice come back from... Can I see on the meters? La! That's John. I believe... Oh, that doesn't
It's
make...
me doing what?
Well, I'm seeing... When I make a loud noise, I see level on your meter. But actually, I wasn't hearing the echo until Tim joined, so I might be pointing the finger unfairly.
This is why people join in the live chat.
This is good stuff.
This is gold. This pre.
People love to see professionals doing their work.
When I get the Rodecaster Pro 2 up and running, we'll try doing some of its remote access stuff for voice. Because you can do this stuff over the internet into the Rodecaster.
Sorry, what do you mean?
I'm going to try getting some people to come into the Rodecaster remotely, tunneled over the internet.
Oh, rather than
voice stream.
using a Riverside type host.
See how well it works.
Okay. I vote we don't do that live on the podcast, at least not for a first.
Oh, no. I was going to ask for some willing volunteers from Discord land. But it won't be for a few weeks.
They are a willing bunch.
And there's the Rodecaster video coming as well. So that can just go straight punt to YouTube and stuff.
Cool.
Yeah, I apologise for my boxy background, incidentally. So Ian's already noticed this. I've been back for a week. I still haven't quite got round to tidying up the absolutely appalling mess.
It's just what work looks like. I'm super hearing an echo. Let me just try something for a second. I'm just muting people left and right. Mute. La la la. La la la. Now it's definitely coming from John. When I mute John's microphone, then the echo goes.
Do I need to turn echo cancellation on?
Could you try it, please? It's weird because this hasn't happened before.
Okay, it's off at the moment, and I'm now. It can't be changed while recording.
I can stop recording from... Sorry, Tim?
I was only going to say that John's quite loud, so I wonder if it's just actually
do you want to
sheer volume.
If I nudge down my volume slider, is that any better?
It's still there, but
Because I've got headsets on. It's hard to see how I'm
Yeah.
getting an echo.
No, I
Yeah.
don't know. Well,
And there's
One
definitely
second.
nothing in the room.
hold on to your pants, Discord. I'm just going to very briefly stop so we can turn on John's echo cancellation, then rejoin.
It's fine by me.
Thanks, David.
Very good. All right. We've crashed straight through 1 o'clock. My apologies, everyone. It's now 1:01 and 20 seconds. So
Okay. I can't see John. Is that something I should worry about?
I can.
No.
I can see me.
I shouldn't worry?
Can you
No.
hear him?
Do you want me to
I
turn
can't
my...
hear John, which is the bigger issue.
Yeah, that
Okay.
is more of a problem.
Okay, I'll turn my
I'm assuming
camera.
John's talking.
Do
Yes,
you want me
he
to
is.
leave and rejoin?
Okay. All right. Shall I dip out and rejoin? Well,
Yeah,
I'm
why-
going to
why
dip out
don't
and
you?
rejoin.
Okay. Eek, we've gone portrait. Yeah, everyone can see and hear John. It's Tim's cyber shed. That would be funny, yes, if he came back and everyone else had logged off. He was taking a long time to rejoin. I really thought he was just going to press the button and then... Maybe he's taking the opportunity to make a cup of tea. My soundproofing was here last week. Soundproofing, sound treatment, I swear. I haven't taken it down. I keep meaning to. Right, Tim, we can see you. And,
And I can see John.
okay. Can you
Always
see
a
anyone
delight,
else?
John. Always a delight. Yes, I can see Nick with his beautiful background. Nick wins the background wars.
Okay,
Hello,
well,
and welcome to the
wait. Sorry, I need to resync. It's 1:03 precisely now. Thank you.
Hello and welcome to the PC Pro podcast. It is the 9th of October 2025. I'm Tim Danton, editor-in-chief of PC Pro. Who's with me today? I've got the actually no one's smiling. I was going to say the smiling Darian Graham-Smith, but everyone, thank you very much, everyone. Smiling now, Darian Graham-Smith.
Hello there.
Hello. The grimacing Nick Rawlinson.
Hello, Tim.
Hello. And the always chipper John Honeyball.
Chipper. Oh, okay.
Chipper.
I'll go with that.
That's your role in today's podcast, is to be the chipper one. In Barry's absence, what can I say? All right, so, but we're going to kick off with you, Nick, with a story that is right up your street.
Yes, it is. This is the story that Qualcomm is hoping to buy Arduino. I say hoping to because it's still got to be approved by regulators. For those who don't know it, Arduino is it was Italian-based manufacturer of small board computers, a bit like Raspberry Pi in this country. And Qualcomm buying it, if it goes through, isn't necessarily bad news. It brings a lot of expertise in things like chips and connectivity. So it would be quite a good fit for a manufacturer of small boards. And the first fruits of that is what's going to be called the Uno Q, which is using a Debian-compatible Qualcomm Dragonwing QRB2210 processor. Which all looks very exciting if you actually look at the specs online. I'm quite interested. I don't currently have any Arduinos. I've got dozens and dozens of Raspberry Pi, but this could be the one that makes me dip my toes in the water. For anyone who's worried about what this means, it's not, I don't think, bad news. They're promising it's business as usual. It'll still be an open source project, and it will continue to support a range of microcontrollers and microprocessors from multiple semiconductor providers. Branding will continue as I know, so it's not going to necessarily be a Qualcomm branded product in the future. And also, of course, it does mean that there could be a very good source of funding for what continues to be an open source project. And as we all know, open source projects quite often have problems raising the funding that they require. It's not the first time something like this has happened. You may remember there was an argument over who owned the rights to the Arduino name of the company way back in the early, the mid 2010s. And at that point in 2017, Arduino partnered with ARM. And there was a promise that it wouldn't actually lock Arduino into ARM architecture, and indeed it didn't. It still supports many architectures. So looking forward, hopefully this is good news. Arduino partnering up with someone rather larger.
What's your take, Darian? Because you've delved into the maker's world before, haven't you?
I have, but I've never really got on with the Arduino. That makes it sound like it's caused me trouble, which isn't fair. It's just I've always been kind of on the Raspberry Pi side of things because I'm a desktop guy at heart, and I believe the Arduino is a bit more lightweight, a bit simpler, and more along the lines of a Pi Zero. I mean, it's fine and good, and I'm happy that it continues to exist for those who love it. But I was just I just did a quick search. Well, I did an AI query actually for why do we actually need the Arduino, and I have to say all the reasons that it gave me are reasons why we need the Raspberry Pi, and I haven't fully understood exactly what's the where the Arduino fits in. I mean, this is probably a very ignorant, man in the street, mainstream perspective, but you never hear people talk about the Arduino outside of very, very niche specific communities, and even niches within the maker community, sub niches within the lightweight compute board community. So while I'm sure this is of great interest to those people, I've got to be honest, I don't see what the big deal is.
Nick, I'm going to let you have first stab at responding to that.
Why do we have Mac OS when we've got Windows? It's the same argument. Why do you have Oracle when you have Salesforce or any other company that's doing enterprise software? At the end of the day, competition is a good thing, isn't it? And I'm all in favor, despite having no Arduinos in this house and dozens of Raspberry Pis, I'm all in favor of them being competitors, because they're going to make someone like Raspberry Pi continue innovating, even if there wasn't a financial incentive to do so.
So it's like the Pepsi to Raspberry Pi's Coke.
You could say that.
I get the impression, though. So Retney mentioned this on the podcast chat channel in our Discord server. Our Discord server is always there, by the way, pcpro.link/discord if you wish to join the happy community of PC Pro enthusiasts, where we do have to kick out a few crypto kids every couple of weeks. But apart from that, it's a very nice place to be. But anyway, Retney said the new Arduino is interesting as long as they don't go too Raspberry Pi-ish, by which he means too high-powered. He's talking about and that kind of leans towards this idea of actually being even more power conservative than the Raspberry Pi. Although, of course, as Jeff Campbell points out, there is the Pi Pico microcontroller.
Yes, I'm sorry, I misspoke when I said Pi Zero. I did mean Pi Pico, which is, as you say, microcontroller rather than microprocessor. So, from my naive, we only need one brand to line up behind position. It seems that Pi's already got that covered.
Yes, and Mark Rocketman says Arduino is great for running a wide range of sensors, and the other thing that's mentioned in the press release, this is according to Qualcomm, is that there are 33 million plus, don't know why you put the plus in there, active users in the Arduino community. So that's half the population roughly of Britain. So that's not to be ignored, is it, Darian?
Well, no, it's not. But at the same time, I mean, if you, it's really just, I guess I'm playing a little bit devil's advocate here. I genuinely, I think of myself as a technology enthusiast, and I don't hear anybody say the word Arduino from 1 month to the next. So I'm really just kind of trying to say, how will this affect the man in the street?
Yeah, but okay. So lots of people don't know who Raspberry Pi is, and you're not arguing for the end of Raspberry Pi. Not that I'm suggesting you're arguing for the end of Arduino, but there's.
I wouldn't miss it. Is the point I'm making?
Well, you wouldn't miss it. Okay.
No.
John, do you have any opinions on this?
Well, I'm afraid to say I must confess I'm like everybody else on this podcast, that I have large numbers of Raspberry Pis and no Arduinos. Well, to be fair, no Arduinos that I know of. And this, I think, is a key point, and I think it's a key differentiator between the Raspberry Pi and the Arduino market, because the Arduino market has always been extremely focused towards as you say, the ultra-low power consumption, sensor-driven, embedded world. And it's quite likely I've got dozens of the damn things around here. It's just that I don't know about it. Now, it's certainly true to say that Raspberry Pi has been moving down, as you say, into these much lower power consumption devices. But there is undoubtedly a very serious and passionate and meaningful market out there for Arduino. Otherwise, frankly, Qualcomm wouldn't be interested in them. I'm actually, must confess, I'm finding it a little hard to work out why Qualcomm would be interested in Arduino. If Qualcomm had bought Raspberry Pi, unlikely I know, but if they had, you could kind of see that, I guess. But to me, Qualcomm buying Arduino, I'm not really sure, unless they're wanting to put sort of Arduino embedded stuff onto Qualcomm boards as sort of like parallel interfaces and management interfaces and all that kind of stuff, which could make an enormous amount of sense. The worry, of course, for the Arduino market and passionate user base is that Qualcomm comes along and is the big elephant in the room and sort of spoils everything for everybody. And we have no position to know whether that will be true or not until we see what happens. And at that point, it's kind of a bit late. I don't think an awful lot of people are going to be jumping ship from Arduino simply because Qualcomm has entered the room. This kind of technology, this kind of embedded technology, is something that you work with for on very long timescales and very long deployment timescales. So this is not something that's going to, Raspberry Pi is not going to become, the flavour of the week, next week, and everyone jumps ship because of what's been announced. So I think I'm not actually bothered, and I don't think the Raspberry Pi comparison is actually particularly relevant at the moment. But I'm still struggling to see what Qualcomm wants out of this. And until we understand that, I think it's all a little bit kind of, who knows?
Let's just view it the most positive way we can, which is that maybe Qualcomm just wanted to inject it with a bit of cash and ensure that it still was going to survive. Who knows?
But was there any indication that they were short of cash, or that they were running onto the rocks, or whatever? I don't know. I've not followed I don't follow Arduino, and I've not followed their market. So maybe they needed the money, maybe they didn't.
Unless Nick has any great insight, which he can indicate to me with a shake of the head or otherwise, as a shake of the
Consider it
head.
shook.
We shall move on to the next item, which is another purchase, but this time rather more important, probably in the grand scale, which is between AMD and OpenAI. And so now what we've got is effectively, it seems that in exchange for 10% of its shares, AMD has struck this partnership with OpenAI, whereby AMD Instinct GPUs will be used in the next few generations of its infrastructure. And it should be said, not exclusively, that I can see anyway. But on the back of this, I haven't actually checked the shares today, but on the back of this, the shares for AMD shot up by almost 30%. So from memory, they're on about $180 and they went up to about $230. So that's quite a big improvement just on one deal. And it certainly shows the importance that the market sees in AI infrastructure in the future. We don't know exactly. Well, we know when it's going to happen because we're going to see the first rollout of the 450s in the second half of next year, but that's just the first influx of GPUs into the OpenAI architecture. And so, just for anyone who doesn't know, and I'm sure there must be a couple of people at least. OpenAI owns ChatGPT, and I have to say it is the slowest of all the services at generating images for some reason right now. Certainly on my free ChatGPT platform, it takes about 2 minutes to generate an image, and then it's a bit rubbish. So yes, hopefully that will improve. But what do we think about this deal, guys? I don't know if you've had a chance to look at the news, John.
I haven't actually dived into it. Unfortunately, I've been driving around a bit too much over the last 24 hours. But I think it's interesting, these kinds of big strategic relationships that are happening. And the fact that it's AMD and not Intel, I think, is also kind of interesting as well. So you talked about the share price. It's kind of interesting because I think we kind of touched upon this with, isn't who's going to be providing the database engine behind this? That's all Oracle, isn't it? And it seems that everybody made this sort of joint announcement about spending money with each other a couple of weeks ago, and everybody's share price went up more than they were going to be spending on what they were doing. And it's kind of like a self-fulfilling roundabout in a way, that they sort of announced to do something, the share price goes up, and everyone's super happy. And that to me sounds like a bubble.
Yes, it does have bubblish elements. I'm going to address both your points, John. First of all, why not Intel? Intel does not have the technology. So Intel does have AI accelerators that can go be plugged into the infrastructure, but they're called Gaudi 3 is the latest version. But there are big question marks, I would say, now over the future of Gaudi due to the this investment by NVIDIA in Intel. Why would this company, which you can see as now being a bit of a partnership between NVIDIA and Intel, still put in the huge amounts of funding that you need to get to create these AI accelerators? AMD does have the technology, but you're quite right in terms of the share price. It is well, I don't pretend to understand the share market, but what I will tell you is that the full extent of this deal. So when OpenAI would get the final tranche of shares, so the final would vest, as they say, would be when the share price reaches apparently $600, and it's currently at around the 200 mark. So yeah, there's a little bit of a way to go. Darian, do you have any point of view on this?
No, just that this looks like, the latest, not particularly shocking chapter in the kind of the gradual reorganization of the whole tech industry around AI as the next big sort of tent pole. AMD, we haven't really talked about them very much lately, except in the context of eating Intel's lunch for processors. So it makes perfect sense to me that, as many companies are kind of buddying up with Intel, or finding partners like Microsoft and OpenAI to build synergies and establish a foothold in the coming market. Yeah, like I say, it's just it makes perfect sense that AMD would want to get in on the action too. Doesn't seem so. I feel like I'm being quite dismissive and this week, but again, it doesn't really seem like a big story to me as yet.
In a way, it is a big story, because what we're talking about here is that AMD is effectively giving it its value of itself as a tenth of its value is the same as as this partnership with OpenAI. So what it does is it puts OpenAI in the same kind of foothold in terms of financial muscle as AMD, and it's just, if anything, it's just a huge sign of how things are shifted. If you bear in mind OpenAI's youth compared to AMD, Intel, even NVIDIA.
Well, yeah, but I mean, OpenAI is one of the absolute behemoths of the industry right now that
Yeah,
everybody.
but
wants
there's
to be
also
in bed with, so.
Perplexity. There are other platforms. You've got Google Gemini. It's not as if it's alone.
Well, yeah, it would be interesting perhaps if AMD had shacked up with an upstart with a would-be AI disruptor, but it's gone with absolutely the safest kind of AI choice you could really pick.
Yeah. But also, don't forget, AMD is not alone in being a partner with OpenAI. We've also got Microsoft being a huge partner with OpenAI. I don't know. I just feel to me, it feels like the welcoming. We always talk about big tech, don't we? And it feels like now OpenAI can kind of be welcomed into that kind of big tech bro family. Although, of course, I'd say that Sam Altman probably already is there. Nick, your viewpoints?
It reminds me of early COVID when, do you remember Zoom share price just went through the roof, didn't it? At the same time that airplane share prices or airline share prices were going through the floor. And I think it's one of those moments that we'll look back on and see it as a bit of a shift in the industry, as we did with Zoom. I mean, obviously things have leveled out a bit in video conferencing since. But I think your point that this makes a fairly young company compete financially with on a sort of a value basis with a very well established company is an interesting one.
And also, we need to interject here and say, has any of these AI companies that are consuming vast amounts of hardware, vast amounts of custom silicon, and vast amounts of electricity, have any of them got any route to profitability in any meaningful timescale? Because if we're not careful, they're going to either run out of cash injection from investors, which is what the whole thing is running on at the moment, and if those investors don't start seeing some route to profitability, and I don't mean profitability near term, I mean even just making a profit year on year, let alone the sunk cost already, then people are going to start getting very cold feet on this, because otherwise it's starting to look like that. I always thought it was the Hanna-Barbera, but it was the Looney Tunes, where they ran off the edge of the cliff and kept going right until the point that somebody looked down and then they fell. And I think we are still very much in the off the edge of the cliff and running moment. And the question is, when is someone going to look down?
Yeah, I think the comparison I would draw is with Amazon versus the rest. So we had do you remember at the turn of the 2000s, there were quite a few online retailers that came up. In fact, there was one point, I'm sure you remember this, Nick, because I think you were editor of Mac User at that point, where it just seemed like every moment you turned, excuse me, a new retailer, a pet food retailer, uh, a wall retailer, all these things started to appear. But ultimately, here we are 25 years later, and there's only one.
There's one very visible one, but there are a lot of other retailers. And I think if you start looking around and varying your shopping, as I've done this year in particular, not through any kind of resolution at the beginning of the year, but just because I did buy into the one big retailer that we all know. And I was remembering things like jungle.com. I think that was a retailer that was very popular many years ago. And I don't see that around. Maybe it is still around. I haven't looked. But I have started diversifying and looking for other retailers for pet food. Was one that you suggested there, and I've started buying cat food elsewhere. Not because of any ethics or anything like that, but just because I was looking around and I found a very good price somewhere else and they were offering what I wanted and there was a free bowl. So I started a subscription there. Tim, you're still muted. And I've stuck with them. And I've been really surprised, actually, since I've started diversifying my shopping, how easy I have found it to shop elsewhere.
Okay, all right, thank you. Let us whiz on to a related topic, which is with you, Darian.
Yeah, well, you'll be very pleased to hear that we're sticking with AI. So Google has announced this week a new compute model for Gemini, which is called Gemini 2.5 Computer Use. What this basically means is that Gemini can now use your computer. No, let me be a bit more specific. Similar to ChatGPT's agent mode, you can now tell Gemini, open this URL and put these things in my shopping cart, or search the catalogue for books by Nick Rawlinson published between 2010 and 2015, or whatever. And it has the ability to read the screen and interpret the controls and basically interact with the web in the in the way a human would. This is currently only available via API, I believe, so you can put it in your programs that use Gemini, but I don't think you can fire up Gemini on your phone or whatever just yet and tell it to do that. But it is an interesting new expansion. I've always thought, I've thought always in the past, month since agent mode came to ChatGPT, we are starting to open the door to some slightly dodgy possibilities here, because originally obviously the chatbots were heavily sandboxed, but the moment you let them start taking actions on public websites on your behalf, you start to get into all sorts of questions about liability. What if it signs me up for for insurance I didn't want, or what if it misrepresents me online? But it seems that we're just kind of running headlong into that without really addressing it, so that's fun. There's more, but do you want to talk about that first?
Well, let's see. Are other people concerned about this? John, are you concerned?
Yes, terrified. Frankly, the whole point about access to, I mean, just take a slight sideways here. You remember the big fuss there was, whether it was justified or not, whether we were talking about a beta or not. But when it was announced many months ago that Microsoft had this AI-based tool that they were going to put into Windows, which will basically read all of your screens, and read all of your windows, and then do very clever things with it, which sounded really great, fantastic. Except, what happens if it's now reading my banking login page, or all of this kind of stuff? Now, let's not dig over the history as to what was actually there and what wasn't actually there. The underlying concern was, how do I manage this in my life? Because I don't want an AI assistant that can go and do things like that. Well, actually, to be really true, I really do want something like that, but I want to be absolutely certain as to where it's running and where my data is going and what it's being used for. And I will not accept anything that will send any of that kind of information up to the cloud for any kind of processing. So yeah, I want it, but I want it on my terms. And as it is typical of this kind of feature creep that we have seen so many times in the industry, great things are being promised to punters for probably very little cost, or probably even zero cost. And people will just sort of sign up to it without thinking through the consequences. And as you say, there is some real horror stories that will come down the line. There are companies out there at the moment who are saying you may not use AI engine X, Y, or Z with any kind of company data because they simply don't know what's going on with it. But I saw this week that Microsoft has announced that you can use your Microsoft AI home account on your Microsoft 365 business desktop license now. So you can take your AI engine into work with you. And let's just say the reaction of a good friend of mine who is CTO level of a big organization was, well, let's just say it was unrepeatable. The thought that, that Microsoft might be allowing, I express the might, and we haven't yet seen the implementation, that you can take your home-based, home-licensed AI login engine and then use it on your business computer. And maybe I'm just being, old and grumpy and grey-haired and desperately in need of gin, but you do sometimes wonder here how well these things have been thought through, the consequences of them, or whether it's all just this sort of headlong rush into let's do something because we can do it and to hell with the consequences.
I think the most recent example of that actually came from Samsung, didn't it? When you had the early days of ChatGPT, and so there were people in Samsung trying to ask queries of it and effectively sharing company data with OpenAI via the ChatGPT interface, and then that started leaking elsewhere. So that's exactly the sort of problems that you can get with these things. And here we are talking about giving an AI agent access to your web browser, which may sound quite limiting, but if that web browser is linked to Google Workspaces, for example, then it has access to pretty much all your business data. And as a result, also all your business intelligence. In fact, it probably understands your business better than you do. So yeah, there are big bumps that we could be about to jump into. That's something to look forward to. Are you looking forward to this, Nick?
No, I don't like the idea of agents, but I mean, at the end of the day,
you don't have a choice, Nick. You honestly don't have a choice. They're coming. Agentic AI is here. In one way or other, it will take over the world, and resistance is as useless as saying, I still use a checkbook.
I don't like bacon. That's also here, and I'm not going to get over that. But at the end of the day, it's up to all of us to think about where our data is. And I don't know where all of my data is. A lot of it's in Switzerland because I'm using pCloud, and a lot of that's hosted there. But at the end of the day, if you're using cloud-based services, you don't potentially know for definite, and I'm sure John's got more things to say on this because he's quite vocal about things like VPNs, for example. But you don't know for definite where that data is, where it's sitting. I'm fairly confident where mine is, but you don't know all of the uses of it. And more we're seeing now AI being used in software as a service. So you maybe word processing on the web, and there may be an AI running in the sidebar there. At the end of the day, it can see what you're doing because it's there to help you write better and to rephrase things nicely and to give you context that you could use as research in that document. So at the end of the day, you might be not even thinking about what you're doing, and the AI is still there looking over your shoulder.
Yeah, no, that's a really interesting point, and especially this idea of actually knowing where the hell your data is. because realistically, how many of us actually know where it is? And I know John will be, of the four of us, I would safely say that John knows exactly where his data is far better than we do.
Well, no, you say that, and yes, I'm paranoid about this stuff because they genuinely are all out to get you. I'm just aware that we've shifted from a model where I had my stuff and it was on my device, and that's where it was, to one where we just had this whole sort of feature creep over the years to search engines that came and trawled their way through everybody's website, and now we've got cloud-based. Well, some years ago we got things like cloud-based email services and cloud-based this and that, and they getting trawled, and you're getting adverts injected into everything left, right, and centre. So you click on things and you don't really know what the click is. If you go onto a web search engine and it presents you with a link to some company you're interested in, and you actually look at the link behind the click that you're about to do, it doesn't take you to the company that you're wanting to end up in. It takes you back into the search engine where it's data mining that you've done this, and then refers you out sideways. We are being data mined all the time, and I try to keep stuff in a place where I've got some comprehension of what's going on there, but frankly it's pretty damn difficult. And when things like government agencies become involved, look at where HMRC tying up with Passport Office, tying up with UK banking, and and all of the other digital services that we have in the UK. There's a whole bunch of stuff that will be known about me, which you just kind of have to assume that it's known about and it's out there. We just have to kind of hope and pray that they've got some decent security wrapped around it.
Okay, Darian, I think we've we've maybe I may have taken us off on a tangent there, but let's go back to Google. What else have you got to say for yourself?
Well, it's not actually about Google. It's so Google's been putting the browser into AI, but two other companies have been putting AI into the browser. Opera has announced its new Opera Neon, which is a version of Opera that comes with integrations with both ChatGPT and Gemini. It can use AI to organize your tabs, an excellent use of all that horsepower, I'm sure you'll agree. But it can also, perform online tasks on your behalf. And the weird thing is, I say the weird thing, it's not very surprising since it's drawing on external resources from OpenAI and Google. It's going to cost $20 a month to use. I find it hard to imagine that many people will want to pay $20 a month for an AI-enabled browser, particularly because the other bit of news is that Perplexity has also launched an AI-powered browser, and their one's free. This is Perplexity's browser called Comet, which uses Perplexity's own AI engine to kind of... I've been trying this out. It sort of quite neatly integrates web and AI information. So you can open a tab and you can type in, why should I care about the Arduino? And it will give you an AI summary, but unlike the Google one, the one you get in Google search, it actually seems to properly go and scrape sources, and you can interactively...
Have we lost Darian?
Web content. Have you?
Sorry, Darren, we lost 10 seconds of you there.
Am I back? Am I back?
Yes.
Right. What was the last thing you heard?
Ooh, I'd say Perplexity. Someone giving it away for free. Who was it giving away for free? Yeah, it was Perplexity, wasn't it?
Yes. Okay. So, yes, Perplexity is giving away its AI browser for free. This is Comet, which comes with integrated Perplexity's own AI smarts. And it is very integrated. If you open a tab and type in a question such as, I don't know, how do I get my Dacia Sandero repaired? It will give AI content that you can interact with, a la ChatGPT, and it will also give you web search results that you can click through to. It all works quite nicely. Other things you can do is it will integrate with your Gmail and your Google Calendar, so you can say, go on this website and find me available bookings for the days that Peter says he can be in town. And I've been playing with it, and it works very well. The catch perhaps is that adding AI onto all of these daily interactions seems to make them all rather slow. It's certainly not it's not a very responsive experience compared to just using a pure browser. But I would cautiously recommend, if you're if you're interested in kind of AIing up your life a little bit, you give it a try, because it is free. There is a paid tier which adds I can't remember what it adds now. That's how unconcerned I am about what's missing. But I think that just adds more productivity sort of tools. But the basic one just kind of brings a bit more smarts to your online your online activities, and I'm cautiously, as I say, enjoying it.
John?
I'm intrigued about the Perplexity browser thing, which I had an email about it yesterday or the day before, because I pay the whatever it is, $20 a month for the Perplexity Pro subscription, and I thought I'd give it a go for a month or two to just see how good it was. And I confess I use it all the time. I'm using it multiple times a day. It's way more useful to me than firing up a Google browser or DuckDuckGo or whatever to try and find the answer to a question. So I'm doing it all the time. So I'm actually moderately interested in trying out their browser. The question I would have, of course, is can I log into it using my Perplexity Pro subscription and then get this new Comet browser elevated to the Pro level? So that's something I'm going to have to try. But as I said, I'm using that, and I'm certainly getting my $20 a month out of that without any question at all.
Yes, so Perplexity Pro and Max subscribers get Comet Plus, or you can have Comet Plus on its own for $5 a month. And while I was researching that, you'd really think I would have found out what the extra features were that you get in Comet for that, but I still can't track it down. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to open up Comet and I'm going to ask it. Here we go. What do I get with Comet Plus? And it's having a think, and it's Comet Plus is a dum-dum direct access to premium content from major news, culture, and lifestyle publishers such as CNN, Washington Post, LA Times. So I guess you can interrogate the news live, as it were. Enhanced browsing experience, referencing premium sources for summaries and answers. That's kind of the same thing again. Previously paywalled articles can be read inside Comet. I suppose that's sort of the same thing again, but a bit more. Every answer displays sources. Well, every answer I've had from Comet so far has provided a link where I can check the sources, and then supports quality journalism. Okay, fine.
The provided the link thing I think is actually very interesting, because that's to me a very useful thing that I get from Perplexity, as you say, or Perplexity Pro. And I think it's true, as you say, the free version is the links through to the underlying data that it's been using. But of course, over time, will that continue? Will we have the link to original source sort of deprecated because you kind of come to trust the AI engine more and more, and therefore you're not actually that bothered about getting the link through to the underlying data? That wouldn't apply to someone like me or Tim, I guess, but you could certainly see the proverbial person on the Clapham omnibus sort of firing up Perplexity Pro and taking the answer as truth as to whatever comes back.
Yeah, well, maybe the last thing mentioned is actually the most important, that being that money does get kicked back to the publishers to incentivize them to keep actually, creating journalism.
But one wonders how much. Is it the Spotify model where effectively the people get almost zero? Nick, will you be firing up an AI browser?
I did this morning. I tried Comet, and I liked it. But I did ask it, because a lot of the first question I did a bit of a Darian on it. The first thing I did was I said, why should I be using this browser? And it gave me a lot of benefits, all of which seemed to be the benefits I could get through the website. So I did ask it for the difference between the browser and the website. And it did say stuff about, closer integration of the two, being able to do stuff across multiple tabs at the same time. I have used it for 10 minutes total, so I haven't had time to properly look at it, but I am going to have a closer look later.
Okay. One enthused potential user. If with John, 2 enthused potential users. This is very much approaching a hot software of the month. Darian, where are you? Are you enthused or not?
I am quite enthused. To be honest, I mean, it's a bit fiddly because it's the full browser plus it has extra features stuck on top of it. So the interface, the experience isn't very slick. As I say, it's a bit sluggish when you do interact with the AI stuff compared to the instant responses we've got used to on the internet. And also, I know this is a small thing, but it uses a very, very subtle off-white background which doesn't tone with all my other windows, and I do not really appreciate that.
Okay, okay.
Design
Well,
disaster. Yes.
that's yeah, difficult to know where to go after that. So instead, we'll go to the new story, which is with you, Nick.
Yes, this is Microsoft and well, it's Apple really having a bash at Microsoft. It would appear it has put out an 8-minute ad. Actually, I don't know whether it's an ad when it's 8 minutes long and it's not being shown on TV. It's an 8-minute video featuring the Underdogs, which is its team of business people that have appeared in these sort of promotional videos before, who are attending something called Container Con. It starts just like you'd expect an Apple product video to start. There's a lot of Apple stuff in it, like the Find My service, AirDrop, platform integration between phones and watches, even a clip from Severance, and then disasters. Oh, and a cat. I quite enjoyed the cat. And disaster strikes at 3 minutes 24 when all of the computers at ContainerCon go down and blue screens of death, not yet black ones, appear throughout the arena, leaving, would you believe it, only the people running Mac hardware and Apple hardware, phones and what have you, able to do any business. Now, there is no specific mention of CrowdStrike or what happened earlier in the year when a lot of computers were unable to do their business because they were affected by what was called in this video a classic PC failure, as tragic as it is predictable. And the apparent Mac expert in this video goes on to say that what happened to those computers in the video was that the deepest parts of an operating system what happened to the Macs was that the deepest parts of the operating system were being protected from modification by third-party software or malware, which is obviously what happened to those PCs. It's a PC problem. Your Macs are secure. So it's very effective. I think it's very entertaining. I actually quite enjoyed watching it. I went back and watched a little bit more of it, primarily because I was writing notes for this, but also it wasn't a chore to go and do so. I have to wonder, though, unfortunate that that incident was, and it is a great thing to hang a campaign off. Maybe it is a little late to be doing it at this point in the year. And I think there is a more pressing issue, which is the end of support for Windows 11. It's been getting a lot of airtime. Obviously, Microsoft has now extended support for Windows 10 for another 12 months. But that would be a great occasion within the PC world to be hanging a campaign off rather than, I think, what this might be about, which might be about the CrowdStrike incident earlier in the year. But as I say, it's not specifically mentioned. There is a lot of conjecture on websites that could be what it's talking about.
Right. Okay. Yeah, because CrowdStrike was actually last year, wasn't it? When we
Even longer ago than I thought.
so yes, time has moved on. But you're quite right that so Windows 10 support has been extended, but for home users. I believe that business users still need to pay for the extended support license. So yeah, there's still definitely, if you're Mac, if you're Apple, you should still be rubbing your hands at this opportunity. John, did you watch the video?
I've dipped through some of it because I found it intensely annoying and irritating, and I utterly hate that kind of presentation of a film of all sort of screaming people running around a conference centre, acting like spoilt 4-year-olds who've drunk too much sugar. I got the underlying point. The technical underlying point is, of course, interesting. That it would not have happened. I mean, CrowdStrike on Mac does exist, and it doesn't use a kernel driver like that because Apple built a kernel driver support platform for products to plug in and do so at user code level, so they don't need to be a kernel driver. But this is kind of irrelevant, and Microsoft has got everybody in the room together and gave them a damn good telling off a year ago that if you're going to put stuff into the kernel of Windows, you really do need to act like grown-ups. So I'm not on this particular point, I'm not really pointing the finger of blame at Microsoft. Because it was clearly CrowdStrike's fault. As for an advert, oh God, no, it was terrible. Sorry, Nick, just didn't work for me at all.
Good job it's not an ad then, technically.
Well, also to be fair, John, although it kind of did dig at one of the things that you have talked about in the past, which is the lack of separation between the kernel and the next layer of the OS. So I'm surprised it didn't appeal a little bit to you there.
Well, as I said, this wasn't really this advert, not advert, educational video, call it what you like, is not the place to start talking about kernel versus non-kernel devices. It's just way too deep for that kind of a place.
Kernel con.
Yeah.
Darian, any feelings? Oh, you're muted.
Yeah, I feel quite muted. No, I was kind of thinking this is the most kind of dull and, as Nick says, not very timely thing to be talking about. But actually, I've seen some Apple videos in the past where they do make rather dry subjects actually very entertaining. I still kind of go back and watch the Mother Earth one just for my own enjoyment sometimes. So from what Nick says, maybe it is worth a look. It's kind of a curious thing for the company to be doing. But I guess when you've got that much money, you can afford to sort of, to do these little side projects that don't need to generate revenue or produce, a measurable response.
And those, remember those Apple versus Microsoft, Apple versus Intel adverts that they did? Or not Apple versus Intel. Of course, that's since 2020. But the old stuff about Mr. PC and the boring suits and stuff that they used to do, 10, 15 years ago. Justin somebody was the actor. And have you spotted? It's worth going and having a hunt. That Unify have done a series of adverts in exactly the same style of modern networking versus the old incumbents. They've just shamelessly ripped off the style, and they are actually kind of amusing, and they make the point very well about licensing cost, installation, and all of these sort of important things. But this Apple thing to me just sounded like teenagers on crack.
Well, when you talk about that Apple versus Mac, Apple versus PC, Nick and I got an article out of The Guardian from that. So, did we get paid, Nick? I can't remember.
I have no recollection. I remember the article. I've got no recollection of whether we got paid, and if we did, how much it was.
I feel like we probably didn't, but never mind. Maybe John, you could share a link to that video if you can find it.
Which one?
The Synology, not the Synology,
Unify.
the Unify.
I will have a little dig now if I'm allowed a few mouse clicks.
You can have a few mouse clicks. We may even just gently mute you. All right. Well, let us move on to the nibs, and we're going to do a couple of extras. So these are going to be brief, but actually, I will just point you to another video where Adam Mosseri, is that the correct pronunciation? Anybody know whether I've got that right?
No one knows. Only ever seen it written down.
Okay, yeah, neither have I. Anyway, he's from Meta, and he kind of gave a defence, as if to his wife, apparently, of why Meta definitely is not listening to anything that you record. It's quite a painful watch because it was, but we just wouldn't do this. We're too good. And then at the end of it, he says, I think from memory, peace out. Which is the point where I lost all credibility for him. I still don't believe that Meta listens to everything we say, because as he pointed out, people do tend to search for things online whilst they're talking about things, so it shouldn't be a great surprise if it then turns up in the search results. But anyway, it's worth a watch, and definitely just go right to the end if you do. Next, do you want to just talk very briefly about the government targeting Apple users, Darian?
Yeah, well, I only can talk very briefly about this because the BBC has reported that the government has issued another request, this time I think a little bit more narrow, saying that it requires Apple to hand over user information in the UK when presented with the appropriate warrants. Apple, I believe, has not officially commented, but has in the past said it will never do this. The Home Office has said it will never comment on such requests. So that's all there is to say.
Excellent. All right, Nick, over to you.
Somebody bought a mobile phone and it didn't include a charging cable. There was a lot of discussion about it on Reddit, and there is suspicion that that might mean that that's the way the industry is going. I hope it is, personally. I've got a box full of charging cables. Many of them are still wrapped in the little bit of cellophane that stops them unraveling in the packaging, and I'd very happily see them disappear. What surprised me, though, was on one of the sites where I read this story, there was a poll running, which was, is this the right thing to do or not? And I clicked yes. Obviously, I'm very happy that we don't have a charging cable. And I was in the minority rather, not the majority. 2/3 of people still wanted charging cables. And I think, Tim, you made a poll live on Discord earlier to see
I did.
what, and how did it come out?
It came out almost the exact opposite. So we've got 60% saying they do, 60% saying that don't put a cable in, and others, 40%, saying, nope, I always want a cable.
Well, I'm with the 60.
Just
So,
a little
John.
interjection here. I would pay real money. I mean, might even go all the way up to 20 quid for a little box battery powered where you can put sort of a USB port on one side, USB port on the other, and I can take a random USB-C cable, plug it in around the box, and it will then tell me the specification of the cable. Because as we've just covered many times before, there are endless versions and capabilities of USB-C cables in terms of power capabilities. Yeah, that's not fully standalone though. Darren,
No,
is it?
no, this one. Well, this is an inline one that tells you
Yeah,
the
yeah,
power
I've
delivery,
got
but it won't
dozens
tell
of
you the
those.
data.
I want a standalone thing that tells me it will do 100 watts. It's got the right signaling chip in it. It will do data as well as power, and it will just gives me an instant sort of traffic light set of red green LEDs against the key features, so I can pick up a cable, plug it in, and then discard anything that is old and rubbish. Because if you're not providing the cable in the box, which I'm perfectly happy with as an e-waste thing, I'm just channeling my inner Lee at this point. That if you're not going to be providing cables, then people will then be requiring to pick up old cables and use them, and there really is a use there for a little tester.
Yes,
With
I'd
Qi
rather
charging, though,
Sorry, you go.
with Qi charging, I mean, when did you last actually plug in your phone for charging or for data? Come to that.
I use Qi charging, but I'm doing it at 35 or 40 watts now, because the iPhone 17 will do that. For actually plugging in for data, actually a couple of days ago, because I was doing some very high res, high frame rate, 4K 120 frames a second video stuff on the iPhone 17 Pro Max. And actually, for moving stuff on and off, it is an awful lot faster these days on a modern iPhone. Old iPhones, of course, were really basically USB 2 wrapped into a Lightning connector or the early USB-C implementation. But someone might have found a cable tester. I need to go and have a look at that. And Paul Riley on Chatter. 46 quid though. That's a bit more than I was expecting to pay here, being mean. But I'll go and have a look at it.
You said at the start you'd give almost anything for this.
Well, I
So
said all the way up to about 20
45.
quid.
Oh, yeah, you did actually. That's true. Darren, did you have wanting to say to this nib?
Oh, all I was going to say was I would rather have no cable in the box than have a short one that doesn't do data. It's just very annoying to have those knocking around.
Yes, I hate cables. I just hate the fact that, like John was alluded to, that we just nothing's clearly labelled, so I can pick up a cable and God knows what it can do and what it can't do.
And you remember when Apple came out, was it the Thunderbolt 5 cable? And we did it as a hot hardware or whatever, and then we noticed it had no labelling on it to tell you which Thunderbolt spec it was. I mean, you know, even those that profess to do this properly get it wrong.
Yep. Okay, very, very, very quickly. The Deloitte AI report has come out. This is in Australia, and the Australian government gave Deloitte, I can't say that word,
Deloitte.
440,
Deloitte.
Deloitte. Yeah, that I knew I was getting it wrong. Anyway, Deloitte. Yes, that makes much more sense. Let's edit that out so I come out much cleverer in the edit, please. Anyway, the Aussie government gave Deloitte $444,000 to write a report about an aspect of its welfare system. It came back with a fully in-depth report. Looked all good until someone discovered that a lot of the citations not only went to things that were completely made up, but they'd actually manufactured quotes from experts. So unsurprisingly, Deloitte had to give some money back to the government, but also unsurprisingly, just be careful when you commission these things, when you fact quality check these reports, because that will happen increasingly in the future. Darian, final nib for you.
You really want to hit all of these? We're going to have about 90 seconds left to do your monitor, but never mind.
I know, it's fine. It's only a monitor.
It's true. Microsoft has announced the new 365 Premium bundle, not to be confused with Business Premium. Microsoft has always been terrible at naming Office-related stuff. This is a consumer-oriented package which gets you Office and all of the Copilot features for £19 a month or £190 a year. If you were considering paying or already paying £20 a month for ChatGPT Plus, this is an insanely good deal because it's £1 less. Plus, you get all of Office included. Plus, I mean, Office includes Copilot Chat, which does a similar, though not identical, job to the main ChatGPT service. And also, according to the website, I couldn't really believe my eyes when I saw this. It covers up to 6 people. So, in fact, you can share or you can distribute ChatGPT type and Copilot powered services among your entire family. Everyone gets a terabyte of OneDrive storage, as is normal with a Microsoft 365 subscription. So if you are currently paying for ChatGPT Plus and you do not demand the specific ChatGPT interface, because the Microsoft branded one is a little bit different, this is, as I say, an absurdly good deal. But if you're not already paying for that, then subscription software is bad, stay away, etc., etc.
Hey, thank you. And I should also briefly plug the new issue of PC Pro, which is out now, which has got best mini PCs on the cover, and you should all buy it. I'm sure
We did talk about it last week, so you can.
Oh, did we?
brief.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's good. I missed that. It wasn't on sale last week though, so that's a bit quick. All right. Anyway, let us talk about instead the Philips Brilliance 27-inch monitor. Now, this is a 5K monitor, and obviously what they're doing here is they are going up against the Apple Studio display. The Apple Studio display costs over £1,000, and then another £4,000 if you want the stand. So the Philips Brilliance comes with a stand, and it costs around £800. So suddenly, what appeared to if you look at any 27-inch monitor, you kind of think, oh God, I'd never pay 800 quid for it, until you look at what Apple is charging its customers. So what you get for this, it's a Thunderbolt 5 display with a 5K resolution. So it's incredibly sharp, naturally. I would almost argue too sharp, because you've got the... sorry, I will paste a link into the Discord. So it's almost too sharp because you to actually see that level of difference with your eyes, 4K versus 5K, you've got to have pretty good vision, I would say, to do that. And personally, I find 1440p resolution perfectly fine on a 27-inch monitor. And if you're going to have all this resolution, arguably you should have something like a 32-inch monitor. Anyway, that aside, it is incredibly sharp. And you do also get benefits such as a Thunderbolt port out, so you can daisy chain a second Thunderbolt monitor. God, it's been a long week. So that is one of the biggest things. It's also Kalman ready. So John and I will, actually probably Nick, I suppose, you probably do this as well, calibrating monitors. But anyway, most monitors that you buy cannot be hardware calibrated. This one can. So that's very nice, isn't it? And then it's got lots of other connectors as well. So when I wrote out the specs for this monitor, which the full review will appear in issue 375, but I wrote out the specs. It's almost, if I kept them as they currently are in full size font, they'd probably be about half a page. But anyway, there's a lot of stuff in there, so a lot of connections as well. So everything you can think of. It includes the webcam. As per normal with these things, the webcam isn't very good, so don't worry about that. But luckily, the pair of speakers is better. So that's what you're getting for your money in terms of quality. It's very good. It covers all the gamuts, all the kind of color spaces you might hope it would. Well, apart from Adobe RGB, which it doesn't have a setting for. But you've got sRGB, you've got DCI-P3, you've got Display P3 as a separate profile, and the color accuracy is supreme. So there you go. In a very quick nutshell, that is what the Philips Brilliance 27 E3 U7903 does for you. Yes, so David has asked about speakers USB hub. I did briefly mention the speakers just now. They're 5 watts. They're pretty damn powerful. They are pretty good. In terms of USB connections, I'd advise you to go on to the website for the full list, because this is too much. But you've got a couple of USB A's. You've also got a USB B if you want to connect an older style monitor and access the USB hub. And then on top of the second Thunderbolt port I mentioned already, it does have another USB-C data port as well. So there's really no shortage there at all. Does it have a privacy slide on the webcam? Asks Retro Al. It does. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it does. It's actually tucked underneath my other webcam right now, so I can't double check that. But I'm pretty sure it does, yes. Link didn't have a cost. Find a retailer. So the price of this is from ukinsight.com, who are a really good supplier of monitors, by the way. If you're ever thinking of buying a monitor, definitely check out Insight, because they don't tend to come up on the Google price comparison website. But actually, they often have very competitive prices for monitors. So I tend, if I don't trust the prices elsewhere, 827 InkVat, 727 without VAT from ukinsight.com is the price. Can't vote. We have got a vote now going. Okay, so questions from the floor. John, Nick, Darian.
I don't think there is the things. Have you put this side by side by an Apple Cinema display to really?
I have not. No.
No, it's tricky to do.
Yeah.
'cause
Apple,
the
strangely,
looks right.
Apple seemed very unwilling to send me products for review. Don't ask me why.
Got one sat here in front of me if you want to have a play. Thought from my point of view. What is power consumption?
You know what, John? I haven't tested that yet,
Right.
so I can't tell you. I suspect it will be, well, I can't do it right now because it's also feeding my laptop. So plus my setup would be going completely chaotic.
And
I don't know.
Does it have a VESA mount so you could put it on a monitor arm?
Yes, it's got a VESA mount.
Okay.
John, sorry, Nick, any questions?
It's cheaper than I expected. My question really is, why so many pixels in so small an area? I have a 32-inch monitor, which is too big for me, and it's 4K, and that's absolutely fine. I can't personally. I mean, I love the idea of this. It's great specs and it's really cheap. So, well, I say really cheap. It's a lot of money to be spending, but it's less than I was expecting. But to be honest, I've got this 32-inch one that my camera's on the top of there. I've got a Raspberry Pi £99 monitor to the left of it, and I've got another Raspberry Pi £99 monitor behind me, and those two are my favorite monitors that I own, actually, because they do the job. They put things on a screen that I can use, and they're very, very cheap. So, this isn't a question at all, it's a comment. I just don't know what I do with so many pixels in a 27-inch space.
John?
Well, I'm speaking as one who, the monitor I'm looking at the moment, so the little old webcam on it is the original LG 5K monitor. And then here to my left is the Apple 5K monitor. It's a lot nicer than 4K. It's a bit like having a bit of extra horsepower on your car or motorbike. Going from 5K back to 4K does feel constrained. And on a 28-inch monitor, to me, it's a really good pixel count for the size. So I don't think it's unnecessary. I mean, the 6K monitor that Apple does, which is, yes, admittedly 5,000 quid or something, that really is high end, but that's competing with the likes of the pro grading monitors at $30,000. So that's a different space entirely. I mean, at the 800 quid or so, this is what, half the price of the Apple monitor. And at that kind of price point, if the performance is really good, and as you say, Tim, it does tick an awful lot of boxes, then I think it's pretty good value.
Okay, Darian,
Um,
and you can give a hot or not as
I was
well.
going to
if you
say
like.
I have no further questions. I think I was amazed there was so much to say already about about this screen. I don't know. I feel like if you want a 27-inch monitor, then yeah, 5K is and notwithstanding what John says, I would find it hard to justify the expense of getting those extra pixels compared to a because you introduced us, I think, last month or so, to a much cheaper 1440p monitor.
Married it, yes.
I can't remember exactly what it was, but that was music to my ears, and that one, that one existing kind of makes it very hard for me to want to spend £800 plus on this one if I'm not getting significantly more actual usable desktop space. I mean, I can shrink things down smaller, but sad to say, I'm no longer. I mean, I've never had great eyesight. It's not getting any better. I need to have things a certain scale, so the 27-inchness of it is a negative mark, I'm afraid. So on the whole, I'm sure it's a great technical accomplishment, but I don't think I can call it hot. Sorry.
Okay, John, hot or not?
Oh, it's hot. Anything that's got built-in support for CalMan, it shows that it's definitely a cut above your typical cheapo monitor that you get tacked onto a Dell. I mean, we bought a new little Dell sort of micro PC thing to replace that XPS 27 that screen is delaminating. And I just splashed for a reasonable but cheap Dell monitor, and it's okay, but really compared to this level and quality, it's pretty so-so. So for me, this thing is hot.
Thank you. Nick, hot or not?
Hot.
Hot, thank you very much. For me, it is hot, but you have to have really specific reasons for wanting it. So with that caveat, it is hot for what it delivers for the price within the feature range that it offers. But as Darian says, there are far better value options available if you wish to look at that. There's a good magazine to read for that sort of thing. I forget what its name is. Right, so what is the score on the voting door? He said slowly as he tried to work out. Oh, well, we're very much going against the grain here. So hot has got 22% of the vote, not has 78% of the vote. So it's a win in the studio, it's a loss outside of the studio. How we will count that in the official markings, I will leave to Lee to work out whether that counts as hot or not. I suppose just pure votes, it's got to be not. Because we've got more live listeners on Discord than we do live people within our virtual studio. I think we're going to call a close there. Thank you very much, everyone. One of the things I couldn't talk about in this podcast because I would have broken an embargo is all the new Panther Lake information, and also Clearwater Forest information that Intel's just released. Because they've just announced technical details, but I recommend that you go and have a look at that if you are interested in such things. It's definitely an interesting set of products that Intel has just announced. Maybe we'll cover it next week. Anyway, until that time, goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.
Goodbye.
Right, I'm off to edit. Cheers, everyone.
So, Mike, I could tell you now because it's a 2 p.m. embargo, but we couldn't we couldn't squeeze it into the time frame of this one because we started at 1 p.m. and I wouldn't want to get into trouble with Intel. God, think of what they do to us. Right, I need some food. So I'm going to say goodbye. I'm going to publicly apologise to my dad, who's just said bye on the Discord chat, for not ringing in recently. Sorry, Dad, I will call you soon. And I think that seems a good point to say goodbye for now. Bye, everyone.
Bye.